Welcome to the podcast that will teach you how to successfully invest in and build steady streams of passive income from the highly lucrative niche of mobile home park investing. Veteran real estate investors Kevin Bupp and Charles Dehart from Mobile Home Park Academy will personally share with you the valuable lessons they've learned along their journey as mobile home park investors, so that you too can learn how to build massive cash flow and huge profits from this extremely lucrative niche. So without further ado, let's welcome your hosts for today's show, Kevin Bupp and Charles Dehart.
Welcome, guys and gals, to the Mobile Home Park Academy's weekly podcast. We'll provide all the information that you need to know to successfully locate, negotiate, close on, and make huge profits from the lucrative niche of mobile home park investing. I'm your host, Kevin Bupp, along with my co-host and business partner, Charles Dehart. Charles, what's new, man, since I saw you just a few hours ago at the office?
Nothing too much, man. Just updating the blog I got a blog now on Bigger Pockets, so...
mention that real quick, because we have not mentioned it on the show, and it's a big deal. It's actually a really big deal. You've written like, I don't know how many, 10, 12, I mean, a lot of them, a lot of blog posts.
Yeah, I think I've written 30 or 40, but they kind of drip out over the course of every couple of days. I got one that hits. So I'm not sure what the timing is on those, but we're going to put the link to it on the show notes, but it'll walk through pretty much everything, like how to perform, how to start building a database. It's got pictures and everything else. So if you're confused about how to go about doing the databasing stuff, that's in the blog post, and it's got pictures and all that stuff. We've got a lot of stuff on underwriting deals, stuff like that. So I guess the first month of this blog, which is July, we're going to be doing those things. And then next month, we'll probably get into stuff like syndications and, just getting very detailed and things like that. So we're going to have fun with it. Yeah.
So, I mean, really, you can think of like those blog posts as almost like supportive documentation to like these podcasts, right? I mean, because some people, they learn better by reading. Some are more audible learners. And I know for me, a lot of times I've got to actually sit down and read. So a lot of the stuff that we talk about in this podcast, you're writing about now. So you guys got to go check it out.
Yeah, pretty much everything that we've ever talked about on this podcast, I'm kind of going back and putting it all in there in that blog post. So it's going to be good stuff.
Okay. So good deal. So that's awesome. So guys, we'll put that in the show notes. Link to the blog that Charles is writing on. That's on Bigger Pockets, but it's specifically about mobile home park investing. So again, if you want to dig deeper and you want to learn more about this niche and why we love it so much, you definitely got to listen to all of our podcasts. But go back and I don't know, do you subscribe to it, Charles? Is that what happens? They'll subscribe to it and then they'll get notified when you release a new one. Is that how it works?
Yeah. If you find one of my blog posts, which you will with that link, you just go down to the bottom and click subscribe. And every time one of those posts hits, you'll get an email. So pretty easy.
Okay. Well, good deal. So today, Charles, this is based on, we kind of take feedback from emails that we receive and comments that we see on the other posts that we've made. And we always try to create these shows based on what we think the need is out there of those that are tuning in, that are listening. And so today we're going to actually go through the step-by-step process of completing what we consider to be the life-changing event of buying your very first mobile home park, right? I mean, it should be life-changing for the better, not for the worse, right? And, Charles and I, we talk about this all the time. Like, we own some smaller parks, we own some larger parks, and today we're going to be talking about like the small parks and how just one even smaller, medium-sized park, if purchased correctly at the right price, can be absolutely life-changing. And at the end of the show today, what we've decided to do, we thought would be the most beneficial would be, we're going to share with you a case study of a smaller mobile home park that we own that could easily replace or even probably double or triple the average American's yearly salary. And based on what we pay for this park, it would have easily been within reach for pretty much everyone who tunes into the show. So I know that there's many more parks out there like that, Charles, right? I mean, would you agree with that? I mean, there's many more parks out there just like the one we're going to give the case study on. And that purchase price on that park was $650,000. The owner financed it. I mean, they're out there. I'm not going to say that you're going to go on LoopNet and find a bunch of them just like that one, but we've purchased plenty more that were just like that would have been easily obtainable by most everyone that listens to this show. And that park there, again, easily doubles or triples the average American's yearly salary, and can literally allow you to quit your job and allow you and your family to quit your jobs all together because it cash flows like, I mean, it's a cash cow. I guess that's the perfect definition for that one. It's a cash cow. It is. I don't know what a cash cow looks like, in the physical form, but that park is a cash cow.
Absolutely. Yeah. That one's a beautiful park. So
yes. Well, Charles, before we get on to the step-by-step process that we're going to go through, let's just run through a couple of things here. We've got some pretty cool updates we want to share with you guys. First and foremost, this is a new update that you have not heard before. Okay, so we've got some incredibly great things happening at Sunrise Capital Investors, which is our mobile home park investment company, in case you didn't know. So Sunrise Capital Investors is our investment arm, and we're in growth mode in a big way. And we want to be the first to share with you guys a recent goal that we've set for our company. We literally just set this goal in the last week or so. We all got together and put our brains down on paper and said, hey, what can we really achieve in the next 5 years? What's a realistic goal? We got 6 parks in contract today. We're about to double our portfolio in the next couple of months. And what's a realistic goal for 5 years? We've got the hustle in us. We're ready to take off, man, like a rocket ship. And so we've decided that we want to have 10,000 mobile home park lots under ownership within the next 5 years. And we think that's a very, very reachable goal. And you're probably wondering why am I even mentioning this to you? What's this have to do with you, right? Well, in direct alignment with this, what we would consider to be a huge lofty goal, we're going to be looking for some incredibly talented people to help us get there, to help us reach this goal and to grow our company, okay? We can't do it alone. And so in the coming weeks, we're going to be sharing details with you guys about our newly developed apprenticeship program, where we'll be holding open casting calls for a lucky few people to grab a spot working side by side with us out of our Clearwater, Florida location. And I'm not going to spoil the surprise and tell you guys too much about it. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. Just know that you got to stay tuned in. You got to pay attention over the next couple of weeks, because we're going to be giving details about it, and it's going to be an incredible opportunity for a lucky 2, 3, or 4 people, okay, to come start working with us side by side, literally learn the mobile home park business inside and out and help us grow our company. We're looking for people that want to join our family, that also want to join in the hustle and help us make big things happen. So, Charles, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to give away too much more of the surprise, because I know that seriously, it's exciting, because it is exciting. Yeah. We're taking off, man, like a rocket ship, and it's a lot of fun. We're looking for other people to join the journey with us. So what's next, man? Give us another update, because I know we got a bunch more things we want to go through here real quick.
Yeah, we've got we've been working hard on a book that we're going to release. It's kind of sort of an all-encompassing book on mobile home park investing. And what is the code? I always forget it. So it's
easy.
Kevin?
Kevin? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's my name, man. How did you forget that?
Was it Kevin at 41411? So
that's it. All you have to do is text Kevin to 41411, and you'll automatically get put on the VIP list, so that you'll get a free copy as soon as the book comes out. So just as simple as that. We'll get your email, and we'll hold on to it. And as soon as that book comes out, you'll get a copy of it. So that's it, Charles. Just 41411. Kevin, man. Can't forget that.
About 90% of that book is done. So if you've ever, if you're getting started, it doesn't really matter where you are in the business. If you're getting started, or if you've got a few parks under your belt, that book is going to help you out immensely. It's got pictures too, so that's great. But it'll take you through everything: how to acquire parks, how to do due diligence on parks, how to do a syndication, raise money for parks, and then how to operate a mobile home park. So it's got everything in there. Mm-hmm. So definitely worth reading, and it's free. So why not?
Yeah. Well, it's free for now, because we're going to put it up for sale on Amazon at some point in time, but it's going to be free for you guys. That's why you got to send Kevin to 41411. We'll get you on that list. And probably within a few months of us actually coming out with it, we'll probably plop it up on Amazon. And so at that point, we'll have to charge for it, but we'd love to give you a copy for free before that happens. And then, Charles, let's real quick, just one more thing, or actually 2 more quick things. If you're someone that's out there, if you're interested in this niche, you like mobile home parks, you like the asset class, but you're looking for more of a passive type investment, then we're actually seeking accredited investors to work with us, looking for those that are looking for a passive investment opportunity. You can team up with me and my team, the Charles and Brian and myself at Sunrise Capital Investors, and we're really looking for investors that are seeking above average returns on their money to partner with us on deals. And we've got 6 deals in contract now, and we've got many more coming. Okay, like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we're in growth mode, and we're looking for those that want to team up with us and work with us side by side, but more in a passive role, that don't want to be out there with their sleeves rolled up in the mobile home park at 1:00 in the morning dealing with issues. They just want to get mailbox money, and they like the asset class. They think it's going to give them the returns they're looking for, which I'm not going to say it outperforms every other type of investment, Charles, but it does pretty well. So it kicks butt, actually. It's a better way to put it. So if you have an interest in working with us at Sunrise Capital Investors, you can go to our website, learn more about our company. You can also download our investment prospectus. We have a secured investment portal there. You can download the PPM. Go to sunrisecapitalinvestors.com, or you can just pick up the phone and give us a call. It's 888-260-9455. And again, the website is sunrisecapitalinvestors.com. And lastly, if you're in the Tampa Bay area, we're based in Clearwater, Florida. So if you're here visiting for work, pleasure, whatever it might be, and you've got some extra minutes, shoot us an email before you're coming down. And if you got some time while you're here, let's hook up, okay? Let's coordinate a time to get together, grab a beer, a bite to eat, whatever it might be. Charles and I love meeting others that share the same passion as us for this niche, mobile home park investing. So that's it, Charles. Let's move on to the important stuff, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. So we're just going to lay this out for you guys, literally sequentially, step by step, of exactly what we would do or what we suggest you do if you're looking to buy your very first mobile home park. And then, like I said, at the very end of the show today, we're going to give you a case study that we think is a case study of a park that is a very obtainable park for most everyone that listens to the show, based on the purchase price, based on the size, based on the turnaround strategy, based on everything that park is and was. It'd be a perfect park for a first-timer getting into this business that's looking for a life-changing investment. So first and foremost, Charles, let's talk about defining your investment criteria, because really you shouldn't be doing anything else until you know what you're actually looking for, what you're hoping to achieve, right? I mean, you kind of have to back into of what you are going to be seeking out in the marketplace as far as the size of a park, the price point of a park, markets that the parks are located in. You're going to be figuring all that out after you define your investment criteria. And so really, from your perspective, Charles, like what are like a couple of the initial components that make up your investment criteria?
Yeah, investment criteria is going to be things like size, probably the quality of the asset. Mobile home parks have 1 through 5 stars is basically the kind of the rating system. So you get a different type of tenant mix when you get a 1-star park versus maybe a 4 or 5-star park. It's a way different animal. So when you're defining your investment criteria, you need to think about the class of asset that you're trying to go after. We're going to speak about markets a little bit later on, but you probably want to start thinking about what type of markets that you want to be in, whether it be primary, secondary, or tertiary markets. We'll get more in depth later on with that kind of stuff. But with investment criteria, you're looking for. Are you looking to do things like private utilities or public utilities? If you've got experience with private utilities, then maybe that's an advantage that you might have in the industry. If you really know septics and wells really well, maybe you go after those types of properties because you can maximize the types of returns that you might get in those types of opportunities. Whereas if you don't know what you're doing with those things, you might want to avoid them and just spend your time on assets that aren't private utilities. But there's a litany of different things that you could go after. Are you good with do you have a good sales program in place, or do you want to do a lot of park-owned homes? So you just really got to look at what you're good at. That will start to kind of mold your investment criteria. And then when you identify the things you aren't good at, then you can start learning about those things so that you can take advantage of opportunities that you might not be able to take advantage of right now.
Yeah. And a few other things, Charles, to think about is, are you okay with, taking on a project, right? I mean, so there's the question of, are you looking for a stabilized park that is, maybe it's got a little bit of value add, and value add can mean literally that it's 100% economically occupied, but the rents are below market. So all you're doing is going in and just increasing rents, right? That's literally a stabilized park with upside. That is as easy as they come. Then there's some bigger value add plays where there's a lot of park owned homes, there's abandoned homes, there's vacant lots, there's poor collections. I mean, there's a little bit of everything. That is a bigger project, right? You're going to have rehabs of park owned homes. You're going to have a sales program you're going to have to put in place to sell the used homes, to also sell new homes that you might bring in to infill those empty lots. You're going to have to probably fix the management problem there. And so that one's going to take a lot more effort on your part. There might be a bigger reward on the back end, but are you prepared to take on something of that size of a project, right? Or you just want something that's a little bit easier. And so you have to make that determination as well. And then another thing, Charles, I think is very important is trying to determine, what target returns you're looking for. And we always talk about cash on cash returns. We typically leverage most of our acquisitions. And so we're always looking at that cash on cash number because that's the real number to us, right? That's the active money that we have in that opportunity itself and what kind of return we're getting on that money year in and year out. And so, for us, at this point and stage in the game, like we've got investors that invest in our deals, and so we look to achieve a certain cash on cash return for both ourselves, but also our investors. And so we have certain metrics that we have to reach, and those are typically between 18 and 20% cash on cash return on our deals. I'm sorry, not yes, right, 20% cash on cash return.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But so I think you have to determine what that is. And so if you're someone that, let's say that you're okay with a stabilized park, this is where I'm going with this, Charles. I knew I was going somewhere, but if you're that person that's okay with a stabilized park, like that you don't want to put in a lot of the extra effort, or you just don't have the time, maybe you're super busy, but you're okay with like a 12% cash on cash return or a 10% cash on cash return, now you know what you're looking for, right? You could probably get a little bit better quality asset, something that's in maybe a larger MSA. Just you're not going to be as much of a search and a much competition to go after those deals that are going to be able to achieve you 20% cash on cash return. So I don't know, maybe I went down the rabbit hole with that one a little bit too much, but I think that you need to figure out what's comfortable for you. Like, you can't show Charles and I a deal and say, hey guys, like the most you're ever going to get out of this thing is a 10% cash return. We wouldn't do it. We wouldn't be able to do it. It wouldn't work for us at this point in time, not with our business model, not with our structure. So you got to figure out what that return is going to look like for you. And then one other thing, Charles, like you mentioned the star classification system where it's 1 to 5 stars. That kind of plays into, are you looking for a value-added play or stabilized like you? Because sometimes you can buy like 5-star being the nicest, 1-star being the like a dump, I guess. You might be able to buy a 1-star park that's in let's call it a 3-star area, right? You hear a lot about this in the multifamily space. People are buying, Class C apartments in a Class B area, right? Meaning that if you're just doing some improvements to it, change around the tenant base a little bit, you can essentially bring it back up to meet the market standard. So if it was a 1-star park and it's in a 3-star area because it's got great school districts, it's around shopping and nice homes, you can bring it up to that 3-star status. And so are you looking for that type of play, or are you looking for a more stabilized deal that's a little bit less of a headache? So anything else, Charles, about defining your investment criteria that you think is important for our listeners to know?
Yeah, I think that the financing that's available in the industry is also very, very important too. So if you have to kind of look at your own personal situation. You have to look at what your comfort level is with partnerships and things like that. That sort of kind of molds the types of opportunities you're looking to do. And then you need to look at what it takes to qualify for financing with those opportunities. So if you're doing 2-star assets, we run into this all the time. Doing a 2-star asset that might be just under $1 million loan amount in sort of a secondary or tertiary market, it's tough, really, really tough. So, you have to be a very good borrower. A lot of times you got to jump through a ton of hoops to get a bank on board. But definitely look at the types of financing opportunities you have in the space. And there's a lot of beginners that sort of just like you and I did when we first started out. I mean, your first deal was a hard money loan. My first deal was a seller finance deal. You might have to go that route. That might be, if you're a first-time mobile home park buyer and you're not very experienced in real estate, you don't have a very strong balance sheet or credit score, maybe you're looking for seller finance deals. Maybe you're limited to that. So
We love seller finance deals.
Oh, yeah,
we'll take them all day, every day.
We've got a 4-star park right now under contract on the seller finance deal.
Yeah. We can talk about that in a little bit because that's an awesome one. By far, probably one of the nicest parks that I've ever even seen. And sellers financing. And so seller financing is a great thing if you can get it.
It's our favorite form of financing.
Sure, it should be everyone's favorite.
It is, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, good deal. Okay, let's move on to markets to invest in, because I mean, so the next thing it's you got to define the markets that you want to buy in, and this kind of goes along with defining your investment criteria, Charles. But this is another important thing. This is one of those things where, like, if you're let's compare mobile home parks to investing in apartments, right? I don't know how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of apartment complexes exist in the United States, and there's probably 10,000 being built right now as we do this podcast. And so you can be a little bit more specific about saying, hey, I'm going to choose 2 or 3 key markets I want to buy in. I'm going to focus buying multifamily properties. And with mobile home parks, it's a little bit more challenging than that. There's not as many mobile home parks throughout the U.S. Mm-hmm. And, depending where you live, like if you live in California, it just might be too pricey of a market. You might not be able to buy in your direct marketplace. So you have to, Charles, maybe you got some different thoughts on this, but I feel like you have to be very open. Number one, when you're choosing the markets you want to invest in, you got to be very open to going outside of the market that you currently live in, right? And sometimes that means not just like going 20 miles down the road. That means like going to the next state line or 3 state lines over, right? Would you agree with that?
No, I would. When we first got together as a sort of a partnership, we were looking at both apartments and mobile home parks. And when I look at our database right now, we've got we've got quite a few leads in I'm going to use North Carolina as an example. So the entire state of North Carolina, the amount of mobile home park leads that we market to is less than the amount of apartment leads that we market to in just Charlotte MSA. Mm-hmm. So when we were marketing for apartment complexes, that were 40 units and above, that were in the Charlotte, MSA in certain sections, we were actually pretty picky about where we would do apartments in Charlotte. There's actually more apartment complexes to market to than there are mobile home parks with the same criteria in the entire state of North Carolina. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an apartment investor, it's very easy to focus on 2 or 3 MSAs and have plenty of opportunities to look at. Mobile home parks, you might have to focus on 2 or 3 different states to have the same amount of opportunities.
Yep. So, I mean, what's the moral of that part of the overall equation of finding a park, Charles? I mean, just, I guess, be open to markets. Like for us, like it's the eastern half of the U.S. Like it's a big geographical region. I mean, it's eastern half of the United States. We remove some states that we don't really spend too much time in, like Louisiana, Mississippi. What else? There's some of the states up in some of the New England states that we don't really spend too much time marketing to due to really poor tenant-landlord laws that are geared more towards the tenant than the landlord. But what else? Are there any other states, Charles, that we really don't spend much time in on the eastern half of the U.S.?
I mean, not really. I mean, we've looked at a lot of deals in Massachusetts, and every time we do, it's like, the tenant-landlord laws, it seems like it takes like a year to evict somebody. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I mean, you can look at parks and, we looked at a park one time in Iowa that it was a town of 7,000 people and the county had 20,000 people in that county. Mm-hmm. You actually interviewed the guy that wound up buying that park and he's doing great with it. And I think that if there was an apartment complex in that market, we probably wouldn't even have an interest.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, you just have to kind of if you're an apartment guy, you have to kind of expand your mind a little bit. Mobile home parks work in those small markets. They work really, really well. Mm-hmm. So,
okay. Let's talk about deal flow now, because we've defined our investment criteria, at least the best that we can. We're very open to investing in different markets. Maybe we've selected like five markets that we're going to focus in initially, knowing that we need to expand our horizons as we get into this business. But we've gotten that far, and now we need to create deal flow, right? I mean, you need to get leads coming through the door. And really, in my mind, there's 3 different ways that you can do that. Actually, there's 4 different ways you can do that. I'm going to speak to 3 here, but I'm going to throw a 4th in as a little bonus. Direct to owner. That's what we like. That's what we prefer. Not saying that it's the best way, but for us, it kind of is. I mean, we buy a majority of our deals going direct to owners, and that means that we're not waiting for a broker to bring them to us. We're not going on LoopNet or Mobile Home Park Star, although we do all those. We do all the above. We like to kind of create and control our own destiny, and so we go direct to owner. Next one for deal flow are brokers, and we have brokers that bring us deals. In fact, the 4-star park that we are in contract with right now, that was brought to us by a broker that we built a relationship with, and it's off market. It wasn't marketed to anyone else, and we wouldn't have found that opportunity without a broker. In fact, we've mailed to that. We literally mailed to that park. I don't know how many times we've mailed to them, and they never called us, but the broker got the opportunity for us. For sale websites. So like LoopNet is the largest commercial MLS site out there. They've got a category for mobile home parks. So you can search there. You can go to mobilehomeparkstore.com, which is the largest listing site for mobile home parks. Most of the things that you'll find on all those sites have been picked through, but there's still some deals on there. I mean, you'll find needles in the haystack if you look often on those sites. Just know that it's out there to the mass market, and most of the time, there's always someone out there willing to pay a little bit more than you. Okay. So, but just, you gotta keep your eye open for opportunities, and they're there. And I'd say the 4th one, Charles, that the little bonus I'll throw in there is just networking. Sites like Bigger Pockets, getting on there and talking to people about, what it is you do. I want to buy mobile home parks. You get in and interact with others that are looking, or either in that same niche or looking to get into that niche, that are out there pounding pavement, talking to brokers. I mean, we get deals brought to us quite often now from our network that we've built. People know that we're in this space, that we're looking to buy, we're looking to actively invest. And so people bring deals to us. In fact, this morning I had a call with a guy that, he literally emailed me this morning. I called him back, and he had 2 parks, 200 plus space parks that he was looking to discuss with me. So networking, just telling people what it is you do. And anything else, Charles, as far as deal flow?
Yeah, I would say if you're a beginner, which I think that a lot of people that listen to our podcast, they're just trying to break into the industry. Brokers are a really, really hard way to go. You're going to hear that from a lot of industry sources, whether you deal with apartments or mobile home park. In the mobile home park space, you're going to hear a lot of people say, start networking with brokers. You should network with brokers even at this early stage, but don't expect too much. You're going to have to do some guerrilla marketing and go direct to owner. Where it's going to benefit you to network with brokers is after you've closed your first 2 or 3 deals. Then the brokers start to kind of come around. They're like, okay, this guy's a serious player. Mm-hmm. And that's when it's going to start really paying off that you did a network with brokers. But that guerrilla marketing, going direct to owner, cold calling, direct mail, that's going to probably be the place that you find your first deal or 2. Mm-hmm. That's going to be the easiest way to do it. And I think that also networking with other people that are also beginners that are doing the same exact things you're doing, and you're kind of sharing information and sharing tactics and techniques that work. You'll be able to find deals that way. Mm-hmm. and partnership opportunities. So, networking and direct to owner stuff, if you're a beginner, that's what you should focus 90% of your attention on in those early stages of your investing career.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then next up is let's assuming that you've got some leads in your pipeline and you've got some parks under contract or a park under contract. The next thing is the financing side, right? We're kind of skipping due diligence because that could be a entire show on its own. And so we're just assuming that you got a deal in contract, you understand the steps to take for due diligence, but now you need to line up financing, which we feel is another challenging component of this business that a lot of people get wrong. I mean, even to this day, we have challenges with it that we have to work through. And really, there's 2 different types of financing. It's pretty straightforward. Well, there's 2 primary types of financing. There's bank financing or owner financing, right? But then underneath the bank financing, there's a bunch of different subcategories underneath there. There's community banks, regional banks. There's national lenders out there. And then you've got agency debt like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. You've got CMBS lenders that are basically Wall Street loans. You got life companies, all the above. But I can tell you that some of the struggles that we've seen that we are experiencing right now today in our business are working with the smaller banks. Under a certain loan size, typically it's under $1 million. It's a lot more challenging to get parks financed than it will be once you get above that $1 million loan amount threshold. And it's hit or miss. We've got a couple. Well, we got one park in South Carolina right now that we're in contract on, and for some reason or another, Charles, it seems like South Carolina and North Carolina, the banks in those major markets there, the smaller community banks, just don't get mobile home parks. I think we've called through pretty much every single one, and we end up having to go with national lenders on this deal where it should be more of a local lender type play. But
yeah.
It's just one of those things where you got to keep pushing forward. You've got to basically call all the brokers that specialize in this niche. There's a lot of different mortgage brokers out there that specialize in mobile home park lending or brokerage, and they've got the contacts with the different community banks, with the regional banks, with the national lenders, and hopefully they'll be able to place your loan for you. And then obviously owner financing, which is our favorite. I mean, a lot of the parks we buy, Charles, what happens is how we kind of wiggle our way into the owner financing scenario. Like it's never offered to us. Like it's never being sold to us saying, "Hey guys, I'll finance this for you. You okay with that? Does that work for you?" It's never that way. We normally have to go to them and say, "Hey, Mr. Seller, your profit and loss statements. I know you make a lot of money, and I know that some of these line items don't necessarily apply. Like that's you putting this money in your pocket, this payroll and that payroll, and your car expense and all this other stuff that's in here. I know that you paying yourself, and that your NOI really is much higher than what it shows in this profit and loss and what it's shown over the past couple of years. But the bank's not going to buy that. The bank's not going to buy that at all, and they're not going to finance this thing. And it doesn't make sense for us paying cash for it. And so you're going to run the same struggles as any other seller. And then get into the conversation of, what do you intend to do with the money anyway? You've owned this for 30 years, and maybe talk to your CPA about what you're going to be looking at as far as capital gains. And once you really start digging into it, what you'll find is that, number one, most sellers really had no idea what they were going to do with the money. And once they realize how much capital gains they're going to have to pay, and that their cash flow from this investment that they've known for so many years is going to go away, that they start being a lot more open-minded to owner financing. So we try to get owner financing in pretty much every situation, and we're pretty successful at it. We do pretty well.
Yeah, we get a lot of owner financing. So
yeah. So anyway, that's our favorite, and then obviously bank financing is the least favorite, but it's out there, and bank financing is available for mobile home parks. And then Charles, next up, the operations side of the business. Really, there's a couple different categories here. You've got the on-site management, in which all of our parks have their own, basically in-house, live-in on-site managers. It's either an individual or a team that are there. Let's talk about that for a second, because I think that's a big part of this business as well, that a lot of people struggle with. You buy a park that is, let's say it's a value add type park, and part of the problem is the on-site manager. You've got to have a plan in place. Like you've got to be prepared to go in there, and if that is part of the problem, you've got to be prepared to fix that problem. And I can tell you that we've even made a mistake a few times ourselves, where we've maybe let it drag out a little too long, to where we knew that we knew that we were going to try to let the manager stay and try to work it out and try to retrain them. And then, we didn't cut the cord soon enough. And that's just one of those things that you've got to, if you know that's your problem, you got to get in there, you got to nip it in the bud, and get new management in place so that you can run your park successfully. Charles, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the, the park management stuff, the operations side of the business, a lot of these mom and pops, when you look at what they do with their mobile home park, it's mind-boggling. They haven't raised the rents forever. They're paying their manager maybe sometimes they're paying their manager $60,000-$70,000 a year to run a 100-space park.
We're buying a park like that right now.
Yeah, we actually are. Yeah,
in Harrisburg.
Yeah. The one in Pennsylvania is definitely like that.
Yeah.
The operations. You really just need to learn what the normalized expense ratios are for certain activities, that what the normal expense should be for pretty much each line item, and compare it to what a mom and pop seller actually is running the park as. I think a lot of the owners that have owned parks since the 70s and 80s, they don't have any debt on it, so they just sort of just make things easy on themselves, and sometimes that's pretty expensive. So just figure out, just learn what those normalized expenses are, and that way you can see opportunities when you look at the seller's P&L and you see that they're blowing out 90% of their money on expenses. You can sort of pick through that and be like, okay, well, here's where the opportunity is to kind of cut that down.
Yeah, we're going to actually go through that in a case study. We're going to give in a couple minutes here where that was one of the main strategies of that park. That was the big value add component. Was it was being run incredibly inefficiently to where the expenses were double what they should have been. And so we'll go through that here in a few minutes. But how about property management software, Charles? Do you think that it's necessary for someone that's buying their first park? Should they start considering getting involved in like we use Rent Manager as a property management software? Is that necessary, or would you suggest that for your very first park that you look into getting a software system like that rather than just using Excel and QuickBooks?
You probably use QuickBooks on a park, but for us, I mean, again, going back to our goal, 10,000 lots in basically 4.5 years. Rent Manager has a lot of different things and integrations in it that sort of help us scale a business like that. We've gotten a lot of suggestions for other types of software, but it's important to look at what your actual goal is. If you're trying to scale a huge business, then look into things like Rent Manager or Yardi or something like that, where they actually have some integrations and things like that. But as far as property management software, you can get away with QuickBooks if you're owning 1 or 2 parks. You can get away with, there's like something called Park Sidekick. It's not really, I don't think it's online based, and it's sort of like a cheap, pay $100 and you get all the software. You just have to think through how you want to manage the property. And my personal opinion, nothing but great things to say about Rent Manager and the things that they have available in their software. But definitely, if you're still looking to buy your first park, don't worry about the property management software right now. Focus on buying your first park, and then you can worry about that later on.
Yeah. Okay. And then we could quickly talk about, just some of the struggles of overseeing a park. Let's say that it's hundreds of miles away, right? We talked about like markets, and you have to be open to buying in markets that are outside of where you currently live. Like, and it could mean the next state over, it could mean 5 states over, it could mean 1,000 or 2,000 miles away. And so technology has made it a lot easier to keep eyes on your assets, from afar, to where you don't necessarily have to go make a dedicated trip each and every time you want to see your property. And so I think this is the part that a lot of people struggle with this business, because they almost feel like, well, gosh, man, I need to keep an eye on things. I need to be able to drive by my property. Otherwise, I'm not going to ever be able to get comfortable with it. And I think that there's actually some benefits of having a property that's really far away, Charles. So, and technology makes it really incredibly simple to keep tabs on what's happening. So, for example, we have on-site managers at each one of your parks, or we do at each one of our parks, and they have cameras. They literally have like little GoPro style cameras, and they have to drive through once a week, and they take videos of the community for us, and they plop them up in Dropbox. Dropbox allows us to share a dedicated online folder. We use some other systems that allow us to actively communicate with them on a regular basis. And you also have like FaceTime on everyone. A lot of people have iPhones nowadays, and if you don't have an iPhone, you have an Android that has Skype on it. Skype can use your data now. You don't have to be on a Wi-Fi connection. You can go around and do a Skype or a FaceTime video of the park. And, there's just so many different ways that you can keep in tune with what's happening there, that you don't necessarily have to be, the next town over to feel comfortable buying outside of that market. So, Charles, what are some of the other technologies that we utilize in our business that you feel it makes it easier to run these parks from afar? Yeah,
I mean, I think that obviously you can get, if you don't live in the area where your park is, you can get someone off Craigslist to go drive it for you and take pictures and things for $50.
Yep.
You can hire that for $50. The case study we're going to go through in Virginia, the first year we owned that park, I only lived about 3 hours away from it. One of the places where I worked, I would go down to it was like the northern part of North Carolina, which was really, really close to that park. And when I was down there, I was usually working 13, 14, 15 hours a day. And I would drive up to Petersburg to go check on the park. And every time I'd get there, I'd be like, what am I doing here? There was no reason for me to be there. I provided no value whatsoever by actually driving there. So you don't have to be near the park. You can pay someone $50 to go drive through it. It's not that hard. So you just kind of, I know it's kind of weird, but you can get over it after the first couple of months of owning a mobile home park or an apartment complex or anything like that. You can just it doesn't really make a difference whether you're there or not.
Yeah.
So
soon, Charles, in probably in the next 5 years, drones will probably have the capabilities of flying like 1,000 miles.
Your house and do
That's it.
Yeah.
So we have a drone now for our business that we travel with when we go to new parks, and it's a consumer model. It goes like 5 miles. Like, that's crazy that it can fly 5 miles away from you and take pictures and video. And so in 5 years, I'm sure like that's going to be like 150 miles that it'll be able to fly, or if not more than that. So yeah, it'd be pretty cool. In fact, by that point in time, there will probably be services out there, very inexpensive services of people. Just like, let's talk about like Uber. Like, we'll be able to go on and actually like get someone that's local to your park to get their drone, because everyone has one at that point in time, and fly it up and take some real life video, like streaming live videos of your park, and fly through your park and give you a real life view of what's happening in there. So maybe you'll even catch like a fight or something outside.
Yeah, who knows?
So anyway, well, let's talk about the case study, because I think, again, the whole idea of this show is just to give really a high level point of view of like the step-by-step process of like the things that the important things you need to be thinking about as you go into buying your first mobile home park. And like I had mentioned, we chose this case study. And if you listen to our show in the past, you probably heard us mention this deal before. And we have many other deals we could use, but this one it's a very low price point. It's a smaller park. It's 52 spaces in size. And we got owner financing on it. We put normal amount of money down on it, so like, but it was an amount of money that maybe you don't have it saved up, but anyone could go out and probably raise that amount of capital, Charles. Wouldn't you agree? So even if you didn't have, like, we put down $162,000 on that deal. Even if you didn't have that sitting in your bank account, you could probably figure out how to pull it together on that good of a deal. And so let's talk about it real quick, Charles. Let's just kind of go through the bullet points of, I guess, first off, how we found it, right? I mean, it's very straightforward. We found it through direct marketing. We found it by Charles build a database like he teaches you, or like we've teach you on the previous shows. Mm-hmm. Like you actually go through in one of your blog articles that you can find in the show notes. You can get a link to it. But we built a database of mobile home parks in a specific market. This one is in the Richmond, Virginia MSA. And so we sent a direct mail letter to this person. Charles, I don't know how many times we mailed them. I don't know if you recall or not, but we probably mailed them, once or twice, maybe 3 times. I'm not sure how many.
This was actually the first. It was the
really?
First time we mailed him. Yeah,
oh, wow.
He was. We used a database that we had that it didn't have any owners in it, but we'd use the database, and we used MH Village, and this one was never listed on any of those sites. It was sort of like this dark horse park that no one knew about, and I think that either me or my VA had come across it, and we only mailed it once though.
Oh, okay, good deal.
We mailed Richmond 3 or 4 times, but this one kind of got in on the last mailer that we did to it, and he responded to us.
Yeah, he did. He definitely responded to us.
So, yeah.
So that one. So there you go. So 52 spaces, 52 occupied. We negotiated $650,000, correct, Charles? Is that the price?
Mm-hmm.
$650,000?
Yeah.
Okay. $650,000 for it. This one, the owner did finance, and just like I'd mentioned before, he had to finance it. I mean, the financials on this park look horrific, and they were really accurate. So this guy that owned it, he was an attorney, really smart guy. I mean, very intelligent man. He owned it for 34 years, 35 years. And he had a CPA firm, a local CPA firm that handled the books. And so literally the on-site manager at the park, basically, they handled the deposits and such, but everything got documented there, and all their finances got managed by this accounting practice. And so the books were solid, the financials were accurate, but they looked horrible, Charles. I mean, do you remember what the expense ratio was in this park?
88.
Okay, 88%. So I believe, if I recall the numbers, like it grossed the previous year, to us looking at it, like the full year of P&Ls, it grossed $240 some odd $1,000, and NOI was like 28,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just horrible.
Something around there, yeah. It was,
and there's no way we'd be able to get it financed. It just wasn't going to happen. But here's the cool thing is that we immediately looked at that profit and loss, and we saw line items on there that we knew we could chop down pretty quickly. We didn't know exactly what was happening in this park, but we knew that we could fix the problems, whatever they were. Forget Charles. Repairs and maintenance were like $100,000, $120,000. It was just a huge number. Payroll was significant. I mean, way higher than what it should have been. And I forget some of the other items in there. Rents were a little lower. They weren't incredibly low. I mean, he was actually pretty good about keeping the rental rates to market. He was still a little bit below market, but that wasn't really the big upside in that park, raising rents. It was really just fixing the I guess the wastefulness of money that was flowing through that park. So what else, Charles? The value add component there. Let's dig into a little bit deeper about what we did to fix it. Like, what are the main problems that we identified in this park that we knew we could fix pretty quickly?
The big ones were repairs and maintenance were really big. They had 5 employees for a 52 space park. That's insane. So that got fixed pretty quickly. We actually wound up keeping 2 of those. One of those guys is actually our district manager now.
Yeah,
we call it team leader, but district manager is the normal industry term for that. He manages a bunch of different employees, different park managers and stuff. But aside from that, they didn't screen anybody. So they had 31 park-owned homes when we bought that park, and they would let anybody in. They would just let anybody in.
Yeah. If you could fog a mirror, you're in. If you had the first if you had the first month's rent and the security deposit, you got in. Yeah. And then most of them were out there in 6 months too.
Their rent roll. I remember looking through the rent roll for those 31 park-owned homes. For the year of, I think 2014 was the rent. I had a bunch of rent rolls for that year, and there was something like 80 tenants in 31 homes. 80 unique tenants in 31 homes. So you're talking like the average person only stayed 4 months.
Yeah.
And they were evicting most of them. So
so they'd get in, pay like 2 months worth of rent, stop paying, get filed eviction, and take them, a month and a half, 2 months to get them out. And then they have to go in and rehab the home. And so it was a complete loss. Like, they were losing money on every single one of those 31 park-owned homes. So there was no revenue whatsoever coming from those.
Yeah. It's funny. The guy just did not want to pay the $25 for running an application fee. But yet, he would, the tenant would move in, pay first month's rent and security deposit. They would never pay anything else. He would evict them. They would trash the unit, and he would have his other 4 employees go fix it, get it online really, really quickly, and do it all over again, the same thing.
Yeah.
And he was just getting killed.
For many years. Yeah, this wasn't like a couple of years. I mean, this is how he ran the park forever. I mean, for its entire history. So the good thing is he actually, they did, it was very nice. So they did keep it up. They did fix things properly. I mean, there were some of the nicest older homes I've ever seen. Very well maintained, all skirted. Really no deferred maintenance to speak of.
No, so, he had just resurfaced the roads. The roads are gorgeous in that park.
Yeah.
Trees are trimmed. I mean, he spent $30,000 on tree trimming that year.
Yeah.
Just out of control expenses. I mean, it was just, but the park is nice. So
yeah. So we went in. I mean, so really it was pretty quick. We went in, we fired 3 people. We put a tenant screening process in place. So moving forward, not one person came in without paying a $25 application fee, and also having to pass some set standards in place. Like, so if you had a prior eviction, if you couldn't prove employment, didn't prove that you made enough money, if you had criminal charges in your background, I mean, any of that stuff, I mean, you didn't pass. We didn't let you move in. And so we ended up with a few vacant homes pretty much out of the gate. I forget. We had a handful of them. I mean, we had a lot because people were moving out like they already were when he was running it, right? He was losing people every like 4 or 5 months. And so we were starting to lose people as part of his system. We were kind of working through his system, but we were being very slow about putting people back in because we wanted the right people. And so we took time to find the right people, and our turnover dropped. I mean, pretty much within the first couple of months. I mean, we weren't turning him as much as he was prior. And then what else, Charles? What else did we do? Those were like two of the big things that we did to cut down the expenses. And then,
he refused to sell the homes too.
That's it.
He would never sell the homes. And we, the first year we sold, I think we sold 10 of those park-owned homes, and they were just huge. He
thought that was the best part of the business.
Yeah.
Was the park-owned homes. Like he's like, well, you can't control what happens in here unless you own the homes, which is, it obviously didn't work out for him because I guess he controlled how they looked on the outside, but he couldn't control if they paid or not. So, and they didn't pay, and not many people paid there. So yeah, that was a very easy turnaround. I mean, we bought that park, and then we started taking distributions, in a matter of 3 months of owning it?
Yeah. Yeah, we took distributions. I remember, let's see, we closed that park on November 6th, 2015. We took our first distribution mid-month of December.
Yeah, and we didn't have to put any. So we put the down payment, but we didn't have to put any additional capital in because we got the, I don't know, about 18 grand transferred from security deposits, Charles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was, I guess, the whole idea of us telling you this story is that was a deal that is of a great beginner size, makes a ton of money. So let's talk about that real quick, because I think I don't want to say it to brag, Charles, but I mean, let's tell everyone what that really means. Like, this park makes a lot of money. Like 2016, that was the first true calendar year that we had it from January to December. What was the NOI? Because we bought it, it was $28,000. What was the NOI in 2016? I'm
trying to think. When you get the home sales included in there, our NOI for that year was 171.
Okay.
We had about $30,000 of home sales, so it's really about 141.
Okay. And then our debt service in that park is what? It's
about 42.
About 40. Okay, so
there you go.
Less
than 42.
So that park, after all expenses, after debt service, that park makes $100,000 a year without home sales. I mean, if you're not selling homes and you're just running it as you would, and you weren't selling any park-owned homes off, that park makes $100,000 a year after expenses and debt service. That is a life-changing park for most people. And it's a park that is out there. There's other parks like it out there that are waiting for you guys to get out there and find them, right? And to run them properly, run them like a real business and make them cash flow like they should be. So,
I mean, it was life-changing for me. I quit my job off of this park, and there was another park in North Carolina that we owned. Those are the two parks that allowed me to leave my job and do your
six-figure job. You made a lot of money.
I was making about 170 a year, and I quit. Quit that job for those two parks. So,
Yeah. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope that's our goal with that, was give a little bit of motivation with the case study. I like case studies because they're real. And this park, we didn't buy this park back in like 2011 when you could go out and just basically go on LoopNet and probably pick up bank-owned properties left and right. Like, this is somewhat of a recent deal in the past. What is that? 2 years, 2.5 years. And, we've got other deals. We could go through all the case studies of every park that we currently own today, and even parks that are on our board right now, like that we're in contract with. We go through. We'll give you more case studies, but this one I thought this is probably the lowest price point, Charles, that we bought. I mean, well, I don't know. Like we nothing else that we're looking at is of this low of a price point at this point in time. But there's other parks out there of this size, of this price point. We're starting to look at bigger stuff. And so, but there's a lot of stuff out there that are being mismanaged like this one. Anything else, Charles, before we say goodbye for the night?
No, I think that's it. I mean, these parks are out there. So, you can find them, build a database, go find them.
Yeah. Yeah. And how you build that database, you listen to all the previous podcast episodes and you go read Charles's blog. Seriously. I mean, go to our website. We've got a free 2-hour training on the website that literally one of the 3 components that we go through in that 2-hour training is the database building, is the market analysis. And we also go through how to, handle your direct mail and get leads coming in. Okay. So 2-hour free training on our website at the mobilehomeparkacademy.com. You got Charles's blog, which literally is just like a book in itself. All the different blog posts that he has out there, and then he has coming out over the next couple of weeks and months. And then go back and listen to all the podcast episodes that we've done. This is number 76. So there's a lot of information out there. Lots of hours of Charles and I blabbing back and forth with each other about mobile home parks. So anyway, Charles, that's it, buddy? That's all we have?
I think that's all we have.
Okay, well, good deal, guys. Well, before we say goodbye, just want to remind you of the free gift that we give out to all of you who go over to iTunes to leave a 5-star rating and review. And we'll give you the exact cold call script that we use in our very own business. And for those that don't know, we buy a lot of our parks from direct mail, but also cold calling as well. And so if you want a free copy of that cold call script, just send us an email to gift@mobilehomeparkacademy.com and just let us know who you are and what screen name that you use to leave your review, and we'll go ahead and send you that cold call script. And also be sure to stop by the Mobile Home Park Academy. You can listen to all of our previous podcast episodes, and also download a free copy of our popular ebook, The 21 Biggest Mistakes Investors Make when Purchasing Their First Mobile Home Park and How to Avoid Them. And Charles, that's pretty much that's a required read. We always say it's a required read. Like if you haven't read that yet, then you shouldn't even be listening to us right now. You should go read that first and then come back and listen to all the the podcast episodes. So anything else, Charles, before we say goodbye?
No, I think that's it, man.
All right, guys. Well, this is your host, Kevin Buck.
Charles Dehart.
Signing off.
Congratulations for taking the necessary steps to achieving massive success through the highly lucrative niche of mobile home park investing. Be sure to visit our website, mobilehomeparkacademy.com, to download your free digital ebook version of the 21 biggest mistakes investors make when buying their first mobile home park and how you can avoid them. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe to our free monthly mobile home park investing newsletter, which is jammed full of valuable tips, tricks, and strategies to help you accelerate your path to success as a mobile home park investor. More information about this podcast and its hosts can be found by visiting mobilehomeparkacademy.com.